there is a mystery that whispers through the ages, a paradox wrapped in silence. By needing nothing, we draw everything closer. To the mind, it sounds impossible, for how can hands that release receive more than those that cling? Yet in the still chambers of the spirit, this truth resounds like a hidden melody. The great sages, the poets of the unseen, have always pointed us toward this emptiness, not as a void of despair, but as the cradle of abundance. It is not in our restless grasping that life is given, but in the quiet surrender of desire, when the heart ceases its frantic beating and opens to the pulse of the eternal. Picture a lake untouched by wind. Its surface is glass, a perfect reflection of sky and cloud, of light and shadow in seamless harmony. Such is the mind when it grows still, when it loosens its desperate need to control. In the calm waters of awareness, everything finds its rightful place: the vast sky above, the quiet earth below, and the boundless rhythm of being. To enter this stillness is to stand in the center of life's fullness, where nothing is lacking and all things arrive unbidden. This path asks of us no elaborate striving, no struggle against the tide. It asks only that we let go, that we surrender our obsessions with outcome and control. Lao Tzu, in his timeless voice, tells us, if you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. These words are not a command, but an invitation, a door opening into a space where the infinite can pour itself into us. They remind us that the more tightly we clutch, the less we hold. The more we release, the more we are filled. To step into this paradox is to stand at the threshold of abundance. It is to breathe deeply and let the breath carry away every need that binds us. It is to trust that what we seek has already been seeking us, waiting for us to clear the space in which it may arrive. In emptiness, there is room for everything: the quiet, the beauty, the love, the unimagined gifts that the universe has prepared. The paradox dissolves in lived experience. Needing nothing, we receive all. Under the burning eye of the desert sun, a lone traveler stumbles forward. Each step grinds into the sand with the weight of thirst, with the aching promise that somewhere beyond the next dune lies salvation. A shimmering mirage dances on the horizon, an oasis of water, shade, and rest. But the closer the traveler presses, the further it drifts away, like a dream dissolving at dawn. The body grows heavier, the mind more frantic, whispering, just a little farther, just beyond the next rise. Yet the distance never closes, and the heart tightens in despair. This is the face of desire, a furnace that consumes rather than nourishes. To chase is to be bound, trapped in the illusion that fulfillment is always one step beyond our grasp. We convince ourselves that if we press harder, run faster, demand more fiercely, the thing we crave will fall into our hands. And so we run in circles, our lives becoming deserts of pursuit, never realizing that the oasis is not ahead but around us, hidden by the storm of our need. Then comes the moment of collapse. The traveler sinks into the sand, the chase abandoned not by choice, but by exhaustion. Yet in that surrender, something extraordinary stirs. The hot silence of the desert becomes audible, soft winds brushing the skin, the subtle hum of stillness. It is as though the world, long ignored, begins to speak again. The eyes, freed from the fever of pursuit, notice what was always there: a line of shade, the shimmer of water. The oasis not vanishing but waiting, revealed the instant the striving ceased. So it is with us. When we loosen the desperate grip, when we dare to be still, life itself begins to flow toward us. What was once distant illusion becomes living reality. The Sufi mystic Rumi tells us, "When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me without pain." The oasis is not won through the frenzy of desire. It is found in the silence of surrender. The traveler learns this lesson beneath the endless sky. It was never the chase that brought relief, but the letting go. The water flows not to those who demand, but to those who wait with open hands. In stillness, everything is given. In need, nothing is found. To surrender is not to collapse in weakness, nor is it to abandon life's struggle as though we were powerless. True surrender is the quiet courage of opening the hand, of releasing the clenched grip that tries to bend the world into our image. It is the art of stepping aside so that the current of life may move through us, carrying us to places our own effort could never reach. When we loosen our attachment, we cease to choke the river. We become its vessel, and in that yielding, we find a strength that is effortless. Think of the times you fought against what was slipping away, forcing love that was no longer alive, clinging to dreams that were not meant for you, pushing endlessly against doors that would not open. Every effort only deepened the ache. Every grasp made the object recede. It is as though the tighter we hold, the more fragile the thing becomes. Yet the instant we let go, the pain eases, and life, in its strange mercy, begins to rearrange itself for our good. The sages have spoken of this truth across the ages. The Buddha taught that all suffering is born from attachment, from our insistence that the impermanent be permanent, that what changes should remain still. And yet nothing in this world is fixed. To cling is to resist the very nature of life itself. In Taoist wisdom, Laozi whispers, "If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be given everything, give everything up." The paradox is sharp, but it is the doorway. Fullness arises not from holding, but from hollowing ourselves, so the universe may pour itself in. Even in the Christian mystical tradition, Meister Eckhart reminds us, to be full of things is to be empty of God. To be empty of things is to be full of God. Here, emptiness is not a void, but a vessel. The less we carry, the more we can be filled. Release the trinkets of the world, and the infinite makes its home within you. What is given in exchange is not always what we imagined, but always what we truly need. Visualize yourself standing at the edge of an open field with no fences, no boundaries, only the vast horizon. There is nothing to seize, nothing to protect, nothing to chase, yet you are free, limitless, unburdened. In that wide, unbroken silence, you discover a strange richness. The absence of wanting reveals the presence of peace, and peace, unlike the mirage of desire, does not vanish. It stays. This is the wisdom of surrender. Not defeat, not passivity, but the courage to release. To loosen the desperate grasp so that what is truly ours may find us. In non-attachment, we do not lose ourselves. We discover that we were never lacking at all. We were whole from the beginning. Across centuries and continents, the same truth has been whispered in countless tongues. To need nothing is to inherit everything. The voices of sages, mystics, and poets rise from different soils, yet their song is one, a hymn to emptiness, to the paradox of surrender that opens the gates of abundance. What begins in Taoist stillness flows into Sufi longing, into Christian silence, into the quiet breath of the Buddha, and always it carries the same thread: release, and you will receive. Laozi speaks of the Tao as a river that does not strive, yet nourishes all things. He teaches us that fullness is born from emptiness, that abundance does not come through conquest, but through yielding. In the soft hands of surrender, the universe offers itself. To resist is to exhaust, but to align with the current is to move without effort, to let the world arrange itself in harmony around you. Rumi, the Sufi mystic, reminds us, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. Here, the truth unfolds. When desire is no longer desperation but resonance, we are not chasing. We are being drawn gently as a tide is pulled by the moon. The path of the heart is not one of frantic grasping, but of trust, a dance where we are led more than we lead. From Christian mysticism, Meister Eckhart offers his austere clarity. The more we have of the world, the less we have of God. The less we have of the world, the more we have of God. In his vision, the divine does not compete with possessions. It waits in the emptiness left behind when possessions lose their grip on us. The hollowing of the soul becomes the opening through which eternity flows. What appears as loss is in truth the doorway to vastness, and in the still gaze of the Buddha, we hear the same note. Attachment is the root of suffering. It is not the world itself that torments us, but our grasp upon it, the insistence that passing clouds remain fixed in the sky. When the hand opens, the storm ceases, and we are left in the quiet clarity of impermanence. Nothing was ever ours to hold, yet in releasing, we find ourselves rich beyond measure. Imagine emptiness not as desolation, but as a vast cathedral of silence, a chamber with no walls where every sound is free to echo. In that spaciousness, life enters, the divine enters. Love, wisdom, peace, they flow where there is room to receive them. The fullness of life was never outside our reach. It was only waiting for us to unclench, to yield, to trust. This is the universal wisdom, timeless and borderless. The less we cling, the more we are given. The paradox is the key, and through it, we step into a freedom the world cannot take away. Emptiness is not the end. It is the beginning of everything. What we call the void is often mistaken for absence, for silence so deep it frightens us. Yet in the language of mystics, the void is not barren. It is pregnant with worlds. It is the womb of creation, the unseen chamber where stars ignite, where rivers of possibility sleep in darkness until awakened by light. To stand before the void is to stand before infinity, to touch the raw fabric from which all existence is woven. Laozi calls it the eternal Tao, the well that is never exhausted, the hollow that gives form to the vessel. In this emptiness lies power, for it is not crowded by our restless striving. The void is space, space for renewal, for emergence, for what has not yet found its name. Only in stillness can we hear its subtle pulse, the quiet heartbeat of creation that asks nothing and yet contains everything. Rumi, with his tender mysticism, saw the void as a field of transformation. Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form. To him, emptiness was not loss, but alchemy, the dissolving of one shape so another might rise. The void is the furnace where grief becomes wisdom, where endings reveal themselves as beginnings disguised in shadow. To embrace it is to trust the dance of forms, the ceaseless rebirth hidden in apparent nothingness. The philosophers of Greece, too, gazed into the void and found motion, not stillness. Heraclitus taught that the world is flux, forever shedding its skin. What we call emptiness is the turning space, the breath between collapse and renewal. And Meister Eckhart echoed this vision in the language of the soul. A mirror clouded with desire reflects nothing, but when emptied, it captures the divine light in its purity. Thus, the void is clarity itself, the clearing where truth steps forward unmasked. Buddha spoke of shunyata, the emptiness that is not hollow but alive with potential. To see the world as empty of fixed essence is to see it as alive, fluid, free from chains. In shunyata, nothing is bound, and so everything is possible. The void is not dead space. It is the canvas where impermanence paints eternity, where every moment is unrepeatable and therefore sacred. Picture it now, a vast expanse, black yet shimmering, quiet yet trembling with unseen motion. In its silence, stars are born. In its hollowness, seeds take root. It is here, in this infinite womb, that we too are invited to surrender, not to emptiness as despair, but to emptiness as abundance, as renewal, as the inexhaustible source. To step into the void is to step into the mystery of life itself, where what we release becomes the soil of what we are yet to receive. To flow is not to drift aimlessly, nor to surrender our will to chaos. To flow is to move as rivers do, unhurried yet unstoppable, bending around the stones yet always reaching the sea. The sages called this Wu Wei, effortless action, a way of living where doing and being are no longer separate. It is not the passivity of surrender, but the grace of alignment, where every step is carried by the current of existence itself. Laozi whispered the paradox. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. In these words lies a truth sharper than any blade. When we cease our frantic attempts to control every outcome, life itself begins to work through us. The path unfolds without struggle, doors open without knocking, and what once seemed impossible appears as if it had been waiting patiently for us all along. Effortless action is not the absence of effort, but the presence of harmony. Rumi reminds us not to move with fear's trembling hand, but with love's steady flame. Don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move. Fear compels us to force, to wrestle, to clutch at outcomes like a drowning man gasping for air. Love, by contrast, flows like breath. It trusts, it releases, it carries us where we are meant to go. To move in love is to move as the universe moves, in rhythm with the pulse of the unseen. This trust does not spare us from hardship. The river meets rocks, the wind meets mountains, but even in resistance, there is grace. To flow is to meet obstacles as water does, soft yet unyielding, bending yet eroding, finding always a path forward. We begin to see challenges not as curses, but as contours shaping our journey, carving us into vessels that can hold greater depth. In alignment, we no longer fight the current, we learn to dance with it. Christian mystics too spoke of this trust. Meister Eckhart urged us to follow the strange pull of what we really love, promising it would not lead us astray. This pull is the current of the soul, drawing us toward the sea of our own becoming. To resist it is to exhaust ourselves in futility. To yield is to find that life carries us more wisely than our fears ever could. Picture yourself as a river. The waters may twist, narrow, or plunge into shadowed valleys, yet still you move, steady, guided by gravity unseen. There is no rush, no force, only inevitability, only trust. You need not command the waters, you need only become them. In this flow, life ceases to be a battle and becomes a song, sometimes gentle, sometimes wild, but always carrying you home. Close your eyes, if you will, and let the noise of the world fall into silence. Imagine the ground beneath you holding your weight. the air flowing into your lungs without effort, and the stillness around you drawing you inward. In this space, reflection is not an act of thought, but of presence, an invitation to see yourself not as a seeker, but as one who already holds the treasure. Ask yourself, what am I clutching so tightly that it has become a burden rather than a gift? Perhaps it is a dream, a person, an outcome you have been chasing across the burning desert of your mind. See it clearly. Feel its weight pressing upon your heart. And now, envision your hands opening. The burden, once heavy, drifts away like a leaf carried by the wind. With its release comes not emptiness, but space. Space for peace, for love, for breath. Now turn inward again. What am I ready to receive? The universe is not stingy. It waits only for your readiness. Imagine a cup in your hands, empty, luminous. Into it flows what your soul truly longs for: serenity, clarity, kindness, guidance. Not what the world has told you to desire, but what your essence calls forth. With each inhale, feel this cup filling. With each exhale, feel gratitude for the unseen abundance that is already yours. And now the final question. How can I trust more deeply the flow of life? See yourself standing by a great river, the current strong, relentless, yet strangely gentle. You place one foot in, then the other. The water embraces you, not to pull you under, but to carry you forward. You do not resist. You do not demand the course. You move with the river, and the river moves with you. Trust, in this vision, is not blind faith. It is the recognition that the current has always been guiding you home. Breathe once more. Inhale the stillness. Exhale the weight. Let this truth anchor itself deep within. You are not behind, nor are you lost. You are exactly where you need to be. And in the letting go, you have already stepped into the embrace of all that is meant for you. Across the ages, wisdom has spoken in many voices, yet all point to the same eternal truth. Emptiness is not absence, but the fertile ground from which abundance grows. In the Taoist tradition, Laozi whispers that if you want to be given everything, give everything up. His words echo not as doctrine, but as a lived reality. When our hands unclench, when our grasp loosens, the universe finally has space to place its gifts upon our palms. The Sufi mystic Rumi sang of this same mystery. He urged us not to run after what we think we want, for such pursuits are a furnace of anxiety. Instead, he said, sit in the patience of your own place, and what you truly need will find you. Picture this: desires as birds in flight, scattering when chased, but alighting gently upon your shoulder when you sit quietly in stillness. His wisdom is not about doing less, but about being aligned with the pulse of existence. Christian mysticism offers another mirror of this teaching. Meister Eckhart declared that the more we fill ourselves with the world, the less room there is for God. Yet when we are emptied of worldly grasping, we are filled with divine presence. Imagine a vessel clouded with smoke. Only when the smoke clears can the light flood in. So it is with us. Our attachments obscure what has always been shining within. Even the Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, revealed the same truth in a different tongue. Suffering is born of attachment. Our minds clutch at permanence in a world that is ever changing, and in that grasp we are burned. But release your hold, and the fire extinguishes itself. Freedom is not found in gaining, but in surrendering. The emptiness he spoke of, shunyata, is not a void of despair, but a vastness teeming with possibility, like a sky that contains the rising of every dawn. These voices, though separated by centuries and continents, weave a single tapestry. They remind us that by needing nothing, we become conduits of everything. To live with open hands is to live in trust. To surrender is to align with the current that carries all rivers to the sea. And to embrace emptiness is not to fall into nothing, but to rise into the fullness of being itself. When we speak of the void, many imagine a barren silence, a darkness without form, a place where nothing exists. Yet the mystics knew a deeper truth. The void is not a hollow absence, but the very womb of creation itself. It is the sacred emptiness where all possibilities slumber, waiting to be born. Like the black canvas of the night sky, it appears empty, yet it carries the seeds of every star. In stillness, the universe whispers its first word, and from silence, the music of existence arises. In Taoist wisdom, the void is the Tao itself, ever present, inexhaustible, quietly birthing galaxies and rivers alike. Laozi likened it to a well, always drawn from, yet never depleted. This image reminds us that true abundance does not come from clinging or striving, but from returning again and again to the source that never runs dry. The void is not a place of loss. It is a fountain of renewal, forever spilling forth what is most needed, most timely, most alive. Rumi, the Sufi poet of longing, called us into this same sacred emptiness. "Don't grieve," he said. "Anything you lose comes round in another form. What is taken dissolves into the void, only to be reborn as something new." In the silence after a song, the promise of the next note is already vibrating. In every ending, the void holds the unborn shape of beginning. The emptiness is a doorway, not a grave. The Greeks too saw this mystery. Heraclitus taught that the world is constant motion, fire transforming into ash, rivers never the same twice. The void is the hidden loom where all of this weaving occurs. To resist it is to suffer, but to yield is to dance within the rhythm of transformation. Even the Buddha named it shunyata, emptiness that is not desolation, but pure potential. In this openness, all things reveal their impermanence and thus their possibility. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart spoke of the soul as a mirror. Only when it is wiped clean of the fog of desire can it reflect the divine light. The void, then, is not a terror to be avoided, but the sacred clearing that makes room for the eternal. It is not nothing. It is everything waiting, everything becoming. So we are invited not to flee from the void, but to enter it as one enters a sanctuary, to trust its darkness as fertile soil, to allow what must end to dissolve, and to receive what is waiting to be born. The void is the silent womb where life begins again, endlessly, each moment a fresh creation. Step into it, and you step into the boundless heart of possibility itself. To live in harmony with the flow of existence is to enter into a dance older than time itself. Imagine a river winding through mountains and valleys, never straining, never hesitating, simply moving with the contours of the earth. This is the way of effortless action, not passivity, not stillness without motion, but movement born of alignment. When we stop forcing, when we let go of the need to control every twist of the path, life begins to carry us with a strength far greater than our own. In Taoist teaching, this is Wu Wei, the art of non-doing. The river does not wrestle the stone. It embraces it, flowing around until it has worn it smooth. The tree does not command the sun to rise. It simply turns its leaves to the light. In this way, nothing is resisted, yet nothing is left undone. Laozi wrote, "The Tao does nothing, yet nothing remains undone. It is an invitation to trust the current, to let our actions arise naturally, without struggle. Rumi gave voice to this truth when he said, "Don't move the way fear makes you move. Move the way love makes you move." Fear is rigid, grasping, desperate. It pushes us against the tide until we are exhausted. Love, by contrast, is supple, fearless, trusting. It does not demand certainty. It yields to the flow, knowing it will not be led astray. In moving with love, our steps become guided, not by anxiety, but by an unseen wisdom flowing through us. To embody effortless action is not to escape difficulty, but to meet it with grace. A river does not curse the boulder in its path. It simply changes course, and in time, the boulder itself is shaped by the river's persistence. So too in our lives. Obstacles are not walls, but invitations to find new ways of moving, to discover the strength that comes from gentleness. We begin to see that every challenge is not something to conquer, but something to flow with, something to learn from. Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic, once said, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." Trust is the essence here. When we stop clutching at outcomes, when we surrender the illusion of control, the path reveals itself one step at a time. Doors open without force, synchronicities appear like lanterns along the way, and what once seemed impossible arrives quietly at our feet. In living this way, we become like water, yielding yet unbreakable, soft yet unstoppable. We do not impose ourselves on the world, but move in harmony with it, carried toward the ocean of our deepest fulfillment. The wisdom of effortless action is this: in surrendering, we are not diminished, but empowered. In flowing, we arrive. In trusting, we are guided. And in this alignment with the universe, we discover that everything we sought was already flowing to meet us all along. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply, letting the weight of the world slip away with each exhale. In this stillness, ask yourself a simple question. What am I clinging to right now? Perhaps it is a dream that has consumed your heart, a relationship that refuses to unfold, or the endless pursuit of certainty in an uncertain world. Feel the object of your attachment without judgment, as though holding it gently in your palm. Now, imagine releasing it. Watch as it drifts away like a leaf caught by the wind, light and effortless. In the letting go, notice how your body softens, how your mind opens. There is a quiet freedom in surrender. When we loosen our grip, we make space for peace to enter. We discover that we are not defined by what we hold, but by the vastness we become when we release. Breathe into that spaciousness and notice how serenity blooms where tension once lived. In the hollow created by release, there is not emptiness, but fertile ground, waiting for life to plant something new. Now ask, what am I ready to receive? As your hands open, imagine them filling with light, warm, radiant, infinite. This light may take the shape of love, of clarity, of guidance, or of peace itself. Let it settle within you as though your very being were a vessel designed to be filled with this gift. Feel how abundance flows in, not because you chased it, but because you allowed space for it to arrive. Trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by. Reflect on this final question. How can I trust the flow of life more deeply? Recall the times when struggle led only to exhaustion, and yet, when you surrendered, a path quietly unfolded. Consider the ways you might stop wrestling with the river and instead move with its current. Trust is not a passive state. It is a living choice, made moment by moment. It is the willingness to believe that where you are is not an accident, but exactly where you need to be. Feel into this truth. You are not behind, not lacking, not lost. You are already whole, already aligned with the great unfolding. As you breathe in, welcome the sense of being supported by something vast and unseen. As you breathe out, release the last remnants of resistance, the need to force, the hunger to control. In this surrender, the heart softens, the mind clears, and the soul remembers its eternal rhythm. When you return from this reflection, carry with you the quiet knowing that by needing nothing, you open yourself to receive everything. Each step taken in trust becomes a prayer. Each moment of stillness becomes an offering, and each surrender becomes an opening to grace. This is not the end of the journey, but its beginning, the gentle unfolding of life as it was always meant to be lived. As the journey draws to a close, let us return to the paradox that has guided us from the beginning. By needing nothing, we attract everything. What once appeared as a riddle now feels like an ancient truth, etched into the fabric of existence. When we cease the restless grasping for what lies just beyond reach, we uncover that all we have ever longed for has been quietly waiting within us. The fullness of life is not found in the chase, but in the stillness, not in accumulation, but in surrender. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast horizon where sky and earth dissolve into one another. The silence here is not empty. It hums with the hidden music of creation. Each breath you take feels like a thread woven into this infinite tapestry. Each heartbeat a reminder that you are already part of the whole. There is nothing missing. For the moment, you let go of the belief in lack. The universe rushes in to reveal its abundance. This surrender is not resignation, but awakening. To need nothing is to recognize that you are already complete. And from this completeness, life flows freely, bringing gifts not because you forced them, but because you created space for them to arrive. Love, wisdom, clarity, and joy come not as rewards for striving, but as natural companions of trust. In this trust, even suffering softens into meaning, and even loss becomes a doorway to renewal. The sages, the mystics, the poets, they all spoke of this truth in different tongues, yet their voices merge into one chorus. They remind us that emptiness is not void, but vessel, not absence, but potential. To empty oneself is to open oneself, and in opening, to receive what cannot be taken by force. The still lake reflects the heavens only when undisturbed. So too does the soul mirror the infinite when it releases the storms of craving. So as you step forward from this moment, carry with you the gift of stillness. Let it be your compass when the world pulls you into noise and striving. Let it be your refuge when doubt and fear rise like shadows. And let it be your reminder that abundance is not somewhere outside, waiting to be seized, but already flowing through you, waiting to be noticed. Take one final breath. With it, release all that you thought you lacked and receive all that you already are. In the silence between breaths, you will hear the eternal truth. When you let go, you are given everything. When you need nothing, the universe reveals that you have always had it all.